there, this is Heather, Shutterbug 101. Today we'll be going over the Fuji X-T30 with its kit lens, the 18-55. Let's get started. The Fujifilm X-T30 is a 26 megapixel crop sensor mirrorless camera with 425 focus points and has a metal body with a classic feel. It has a tilting LCD that has touchscreen availability, takes pictures at 30 frames per second on its continuous drive, and built-in Wi-Fi. The Fuji X-T30 also has 4K video and a microphone port. This camera is perfect for the hobbyist that appreciates a classic look and feel. Not to mention, it features different film modes in case you're craving a little bit more of emotion in your street shots. Today we'll be going over the doors, buttons, and features this camera supplies. Okay, so like always, we're going to go ahead and start with the front of the camera. So as you can see, we do only have one little switch up here in the front of the camera. And that is going to actually control the way the camera focuses, the little shortcut there. So it has S, C, and M. So what these are going to stand for is single, continuous, and manual. So the single, the S, is actually going to be for still objects. So if it's something that's not moving, a landscape, anything like that, what the focus is going to do is it's going to focus and lock on, and it's not going to move. If you have it set to C, the continuous, that's going to continually focus as the subject moves in your picture. So if there's animals, sports, whatever it may be, the C is what you want to be on for focusing. And then of course there's M, which is full manual focus. Now on the kit lens, it doesn't have like a manual focus or autofocus switch like some other lenses do, but it does have built-in image stabilization because this body does not have it built in, so it has to depend on the lens. The only reason you would ever turn your stabilization off is if you have your camera on a tripod, so something to keep in mind. Otherwise, keep it on. And of course, this is going to control your aperture, so you can either set it to A for auto, which is, you'll see this red A on the camera in a few places. It's just meaning that it's auto. Otherwise, when you turn this ring, it's actually going to control aperture. Okay? And then of course you have on the lens here, you have your manual focus, and then you have your zoom, which is a nice 18-55, 2.8 to 4 aperture. So it's a really nice kit lens, which is really awesome. Not to mention the materials it's made out of. It's not like cheap plastic or anything like that, so it is a really nice lens. You also see that we do have a little adjustment wheel here, as well as on the back. These are going to be to change other aspects, different settings there. Of course, we have our Fuji emblem here and the model number right in front and center. Going to the sides here, as you can see here, nothing here on the side, very, very basic. But on the other side here, we have a little door. When you open up that door, you can see that there is going to be a HDMI cable here, which is going to allow you to hook it up to, say, a computer monitor or a television set to show a slideshow of pictures, whatever you want to do. This is going to be a USB-C charging port or transfer port. And then, of course, you have your mic port as well for that video. So that's kind of a nice feature there. Of course, going to the bottom of the camera, again, very, very basic. We have our universal tripod mount. And then we have our door that does hold our battery and our card. Okay, and it does let you know on the door here, if you look closely, it does say push to eject, okay, because this is spring loaded. So that's going to go for the card, so you would push to take it out, push to lock it back in. Do not try and pry it out or you will break it. Now, of course, to remove the battery, you're just going to hit this guy, it's going to pop right out, and then you can take that guy out there. And you're all set. Going to the top of the camera here, you can see that we have a lot more dials, which is nice. The whole thing about Fujifilm, which you may have noticed by the name, it has film in it, is to give you a very film-like feel. So naturally we have our shutter speed dial here, we have exposure here, and you can adjust the aperture with this ring, very similar to a film camera if you've shot with film in the past. So a lot of film photographers, a lot of landscape photographers do feel at home with the Fujifilm setup, just because, you know, it's very easy to learn in that aspect. We'll go ahead and we'll start over here. First of all, so this camera does have a built-in pop-up flash. To activate that, you'll see the little flash symbol here, and you push that, and it's going to pop right up. And you can just push it down when you don't need it. Now, you can see here that we also have a hot shoe option. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you're kind of checking out, see what camera works best for you, whatever that may be. I always say that even though the built-in flash can be helpful when you absolutely just need light, it's not the best thing in the world. They're all pretty much crap when it comes to getting a quality image with flash. So if you're looking to do portraits or events and you need flash for those low light environments, I highly recommend getting an external flash unit with a diffuser. That way, instead of, you know, looking at a picture and going, oh, they used flash, which is what we don't want, you can actually get something that's going to soften and spread the light, and it's going to look much more natural, and it's not going to blind whoever you're taking a picture of. So it's something that I highly recommend getting an accessory for, is getting a flash. Okay, going over our dial here, we'll just go ahead and start at the end. So this here is going to be, it's like a little squishy rectangle there. That's going to be our panoramic mode. So if you want to get a nice wide establishing shot, you'll just turn it here. It'll prompt you on the screen to start from the left and take pictures to the right. Do not go up and down or else it will not work. So our next little thing here is going to be two colliding squares. So what this is if you have ever shot with film, or maybe you've looked at film with someone having this effect in the past, what this will allow you to do is take two pictures and kind of layer them on top of each other, both kind of ghost images making one image. So if you've seen a picture of maybe a person and then having like neon or something going on at the same time, it's like two completely separate images layered on top of each other. It's kind of a different little creative mode. To show you kind of an example here, just playing with it, if I were to say, let's see, take a picture of my keyboard. I'm going to take a picture of my keyboard. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of one of my computer speakers. Okay, so now this is the image that we're getting. So we're getting my keyboard and we're also getting my speaker all in one shot. So it's interesting. I'm not saying I'll ever use it, but it's definitely a cool way to be creative, and it's all built into the camera. So it is really, really neat. So our advanced features, 1 and 2, I believe are programmable. It's something I'll look into, but they're essentially going to be filters. So this one is currently set to like a toy feature, so it kind of blurs top and bottom to give you somewhat of like a miniature look. Advanced 1 is set to where it kind of vignettes, as you can see here. So those may be changeable. That's something I'm going to look into here. We have our S mode, which it's not the same as the S on the front of the camera. That is something to keep in mind. This is our drive dial, is kind of what I would refer to here. So S is going to be single shot. So if we click and we take a picture, it's actually going to take one picture when I click and hold this button down. Versus if I have it on CL or CH, that's going to be continuous low and continuous high. Continuous high is going to be that 30 frames per second when you click and you hold this button down. I mean, give this a listen. Insane. Like, that's a lot of pictures being taken, which at that point you do need a higher quality SD card, which I'll also go over in a separate video, kind of going over the importance of knowing your SD card as well. So keep an eye open for that. Continuous low is going to be a little bit slower. I imagine that's probably going to be right around half, maybe 15 to 20 frames per second rather than 30. So it really just depends on what you want to use it for. And then we have bracketing 1 and bracketing 2. Those are different bracketing settings. If you shot with film previously, that was kind of a necessary thing you had to do because you didn't know how your picture was going to come out. Bracketing is essentially taking a picture that's a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, and something right in the middle. So you can bracket 1 stop of light, a 3rd stop of light, 3 whole stops of light, whatever you want to do there if you're in a tough lighting situation. So it is something that you can play with. And then of course you have your movie mode here, which is going to be the little video camera. Right, so when you're on your video mode, to start recording and stop recording, you push the shutter button 1 time to start recording, you push again to stop recording. To get back to picture taking mode, if you just want to take 1 picture, it's going to be that S mode, 1 picture when you hold that button down. Okay, now getting over here to this dial, this is going to be your shutter speed dial. This is to go ahead and like freeze motion or show motion. So A, that red A that we went through on the lens here, that's going to be your auto. You're letting the camera decide depending on what you have it pointed at. Otherwise, you can pick your shutter speed. So you can do when it comes to a solid number like this, it's actually going to be 1/4000th of a second, 1/2000th of a second, versus all the way down here, 1/2 of a second, and then kind of going down here where to B, which is going to stand for bulb. So bulb is if, say, you had a remote hooked up to this camera, or if you just wanted to click and hold your finger on this button here, it's going to stay, the shutter is going to stay open for as long as you want. So at that point you could take a stopwatch and time it. So if you're doing Milky Way shots, something like that, bulb is a really nice feature to have on there. Of course we have our on and off switch, so it's just going to be that here. That's going to be our shutter button, so you push halfway down to focus, push all the way down to take a picture. We do have a function button here. This is going to be a shortcut button. So at the moment, if I push this right. So we have a function button here. This is going to be a shortcut button, so you can program this in your menu, which we will go over. You do have your exposure dial here, so naturally if you go +1, let's flip this out so you can kind of see my shirt here. That Fujifilm gave me, by the way. It's pretty cool. You can go plus to make things brighter, or you can go minus to make things darker. So depending, if you don't want to change any major settings or anything like that, you have the ability to make it a stop lighter or a stop darker, depending what you want. You have a little bit more control. And then of course here, we have full auto. If it's something that you're just like, I want to switch it, I don't want to accidentally swap these things here, you can just swap it to full auto there. Otherwise, this gives you the ability to change some options. Okay, now we're going to go to the back of the camera here. Okay, so as you can see, we have our playback button here to view pictures that we've taken, and then we have our trash can button to delete any that we don't want, so pretty simple there. We have our diopter when it comes to changing the way we see things through the viewfinder, because everyone's eyes are different. Some people wear glasses, some people are nearsighted, some people are farsighted. This just helps adjust this viewfinder to your eyes. So once it's set, you shouldn't have to change it again. You can change your view mode. So like right now, this is set to auto. So if I bring my face up to this viewfinder, it does automatically turn this on. I can set it to where I just view it through the viewfinder, or I just see it through the screen with this button here, so keep that in mind. We have our auto exposure and our auto focus lock as separates here. So if you want to lock in your light with your auto exposure or lock in your auto focus, that's going to be your back button there. And again, we have our adjustment wheel. The Q is going to be a quick menu, so if we hit that, we can see that we can change all different aspects here without going into our actual menu. And this is a very basic back, as you can see here, so very easy to learn overall. Most confusing thing may be just getting used to the menu. So you can select, let's see. So if you select base, that's going to be kind of just the regular overall. You can have custom settings there. So if, say, you were shooting in a studio setting, you can save certain settings to these custom modes, these C1 through C7. You have your ISO mode, which is your sensitivity to light, which you can adjust with this wheel here as well. go. We have dynamic range, we have white balance, which auto is just great. I wouldn't play with it too much. You have noise reduction. We have image size. We have image quality. So if I wanted to change that to raw, I want to change it to raw there because I want to take raw pictures. Your film simulation. So you have standard, sepia, you know, different black and whites with yellow, red, green filters. Let's see, you have like different colors. You have Velvia, you know, you got all sorts of ones to play with there. So definitely ones to keep in mind. You can change sharpness, you can change color, you can change shadows and highlights, all on your camera, which is why this is such a great landscaping camera here. You have a self timer. You can change your autofocus modes, which, like I said, you can change on the front of the camera as well. Your flash function, and you can also change the brightness for your LCD. So that's everything that you can change in your quick menu here. And then to exit out, your universal exit button is going to be the shutter button. You just push halfway down and it gets right back to picture taking. This button, before we go over the menu button, is going to be our display. So if you were to hit this button, it's actually going to change the different looks that you can get with the back of the screen. So it really is up to you. You really have 3 choices. I personally like this one here because it gives you a little bit more information than just something that's blank. And then of course we have our menu. So we'll go ahead and go through the menu here a bit. A lot of these were found on the quick menu, so I'm not going to go too much into detail here. Okay. So starting with our top menu here, it's going to be image quality settings. So if we go, okay, so you can change image size, image quality, raw recording if you want it compressed or uncompressed. Your film simulations there, grain effect, white balance. So it's a lot of the things that we saw on the quick menu there. You know, color space, keep it on RGB for the most part. Mix pixel mapping, you got select custom settings, you know, editing, save custom settings there. Let's see. Alright, going down to the next menu is going to be our autofocus manual focus settings. So you can change, again, your focus areas, focus mode, which again is the dial at the front. You know, your autofocus point display, the number of focus points you want to utilize. So if you want to use either 117 or 400, the whole 425, you know, it's really up to you. Let's see, autofocus illuminator. Face and eye detection, which is kind of a nice option to have if you're taking pictures of people. So let's see, we'll do, yeah, eye auto is fine. Autofocus manual focus assist, focus check. Let's see, and of course you have like your touchscreen mode depending on the area that you wanted to really focus on. Then we have our shooting setting, so drive setting, which is kind of our front dial right up here that we talked about, being our drive dial. So you got self timer, you know, flicker reduction if you're doing video, image stabilization mode. Yeah, I would mainly keep that on. Your ISO, your flash settings, which not too much to that. So on your movie settings, you can select your movie modes, movie settings, if you want to add the film simulations. So maybe you want to do it in like black and white. That would be kind of a cool video there. If you want a different feel, you can again change sharpness, color, noise reduction, pretty much all the same things that you can do for a photo. You know, I don't want to dive too much into this if video isn't your like, you know, primary thing with this. If you have any questions about video, I mean, definitely let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do like a video. Other than that, you have the setup menu, which is going to be like sound setup, screen setup, button and dial. So if you want to change your function, button, you know, your power management, and connection settings. And then you do have a My Menu down here. Now for some reason it is grayed out, but typically you should be able to creating my menu, which is taking anything out of these tabs specifically, and maybe they're not on your quick menu, to quickly access them in my menu instead of having to dig through the menu itself. But other than that, it pretty much just sums up this camera. It's very, very simple, very easy to use. It is a great camera to start kind of learning what your aperture, what your shutter speeds do. I mean, with the mirrorless technology, it shows you what it's doing for your photo, whether giving you that depth of field, changing brightness or darkness, that sort of thing there. So it is a really nice camera. So if you really like the classic feel, if you shot with film in the past and you're kind of like, you know, I want digital, but you know, sometimes I might want to have that film simulation sort of look because, you know, I don't want to develop film anymore, or I don't have a film camera, then, you know, this is a great camera for you. And if you have any questions at all, please leave me a comment below. If you have any recommendations for future cameras for walkthroughs, or if you want to learn specific tips and tricks, also give me a comment below. I will keep my eye on those. And until next time, keep your eye out for inspiration, Shutterbugs. Bye!